I thought I should share some of my struggles with the Steam inputs. The first thing you do is you go to Steam direction on your hard drive and you create this folder called controller config. And there you add a game actions file and you use the ID from your game, which is obviously the same ID you have here on the Steam backend. Just copy the Steam example and use that as the most simple way to start. I'm using Visual Studio Code. From what I know, you need to own every controller you want to support. There's like no way to simulate it, so you know about that. When you save your button layout, it creates a similar type of file in the VDF format for all the button mappings. And I know there's like a hack to add controllers you don't own by changing this file. But from what I see, it's pretty big and complicated, so that's nothing I started doing. You have two types of inputs. You have the analog joystick or mouse-like movement, and you have the button movement. The buttons are pretty simple. They're just you have a name, ID name for them, and then your translation key. On the analog, you can choose between joystick move and the absolute mouse movement. From what I understand is the joystick is always the +/-1 movement, while mouse can be a bit more wild because you can move faster than one. But it still gives you change of movement and not the position of the mouse. So what's wild about this is if you go from joystick move to absolute mouse, the y-axis will be inverted. So that will sometimes mess you up. Another tricky thing is inside your actions, you have these action sets. And these are basically when you're going from gameplay to menu, you set up different controls for the menu. You also have action layers, and I felt naturally they should be inside the action set they belong to, but they're on the outside here. And you just reference them with a name. The legacy set value, I think that is just a boolean to say if it's old or new input style. So, but you have layers here that have to be unique numbers. They also can cause some problems, which I will take up later. Inside your action sets, you maybe have some buttons that will repeat. Like in this case, I have select button here. You still need to have two different names for the same button if they're in different action sets, or the loading of the file will crash. But the translation key itself can be repeated several times. So also something to watch out for is if you swap between action sets, you will get key ups from the keys you're holding down. So for example, if you're using start button to open the menu, then when you change the action set, the start button will be treated as a new button. So you will trigger key down once more. So in my code, if I set a new action set, I add a mute for 120 milliseconds. And then if the mute is on, I will ignore any key downs. When I'm gonna map the keys, I start the game, and I need to have the controller ready, otherwise the menu won't work. And I just shift tab, and then I press the control settings here. From what I understand, you can't just add new layouts. It's designed to edit current layouts. It's a bit clunky because you cannot easily make copies and then edit them and so on. So if you want copies of your configuration, you just have to go into the file location and make a copy there. The only thing you can do from here is clicking edit layout and then change the layout. You have all the layers here and the sets, so you always get them in layer, set layer, then the next set with its layers beneath it. You can add your own layers here, but the problem I noticed is if you add a layer before the layers you hard-coded in through your file, then the layer will just disappear. The users themselves can go in here and add new layers like this, and then if I go here and come back, the layer will be gone again because the IDs will conflict. So I want to hold the left trigger and then use the face button to have even more button controls. So I go into the triggers, I add a command and go to the action set, and you might want to use the hold action set, but that one is a bit buggy because if the player do a very quick tap, then that action set will bug out. So it's better to use the add and choose the right layer. And then if you go to the layer, which I'm here, then I add remove of the same action set or the layer. There we go. And I set that to be on release. So it triggers on and off and on press and on release. And that has worked so far. So one tricky thing with layers is the normal way to find the icons for the buttons doesn't work, because you have to go through the layers and see what active layers are ongoing and see what icon is used for it. So I don't know if there's a way to display like hold left trigger plus the button you need to press. In my game right now, you can see that just below, above my face here, that when I hold the trigger, the buttons appear, and when I release, they disappear. And that's the best solution I could find. You might want to do an update of the UI when the layers change, but it's very simple just to take the current layer count and see if it has changed. You don't really need to check what the current layer is and so on, because all buttons have the is active handle on it, so you know if it's on or not. When your setup is complete, you're supposed to click the cog here and then export layout, and you get a file on your hard drive. Steam is in a bit of a weird middle state where they're changing the standard for how to share the layout. So this, from what I know, is the old way and shouldn't be used anymore. And when you export your layout, you get no confirmation whatsoever. So looks like it's broken, but it will happen. The exported files can be a bit tricky to find. For me, they're in the Steam folder, and go to steamapps, common, configs. I choose my ID, then I go to config, and then I go to experimental, and here they are. That one I want to name to my official configuration. There we go. Then you want to take your actions VDF file plus all your configurations, and then place them basically next to your exe in when you build the game. So I will drop the files in my game content folder here. So I have the actions, and then I have the layout for the buttons next to each other. I also have to go into the original game actions file and add the new layout. You need to go into your Steam backend and select Steam input here. And right here I have my content folder and the file for the game actions. And then after publishing your layouts to your Steam depot, you should get these very official looking maps from your files.